And we are back with another flight. We're set up here for short leg from Cuba, Habana, Jose Marti International. Just a quick hop over the pond, arriving in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. So let's get to it. We have ATC online at the moment. Here we are, the edge of the Boeing 777. Let's go on in. Cockpit view. Batteries on. External power. Generators, cabin utility seats, window heat. Adiro. Bring on the lights for now. Arm those. Let me done with it. Let's power up the lights in here. Perfect. Whoops. Bring on the air. Perfect. So that's working just fine. Let's bring up some lights in the cabin. That should be fine. Coffee. Alright, so we're back. Shoulder heat. Just a few things here. Get our radios turned on. And then we'll get on the phone with ATC right away. So let's see. Cuba center is on 124.55. So let's get that. 124.55. That's tuned to the radio. And then make contact with the crew. Get these lights on here. Okay. Get the purser on the phone.
Hello, this is the captain.
Good day, sir.
Hi, this is the captain. Hope you are all doing well today.
We are all here and ready.
Alright, so we are here and ready. So we're just going to load it up with SimBrief, the flight plan that we generated. Get the loading going.
Sir, note the load sheet.
Perfect. So our first officer has gotten this ready for us. We can start programming the box here. Oops. There we go. We could get our APU started at this point. The rest here looks good. So let's go here. Let's see. Let's see if we can get ATC on the phone. There we go. Cuba Center, Air Canada 11 Heavy, do you copy?
Air Canada 11 Havana, good evening, I bid you 5.
Oh, Roger. We are filed IFR to Fort Lauderdale. We have November on board. We're ready to copy our clearance.
Air Canada 11, you're clear to follow the flight plan route. Mark 3 departure, maximum transition. Flight level 290, squawk 3477.
Roger. 1 second here for the readback. Okay, let's just get a few things in before we read that back. The departing airport is MUHA. Whoops. The arrival airport, Fort Lauderdale, KFLL. Flight number, will be flying Air Canada 11 today. Will be our call sign. And we'll be using runway, I think it's 25. Let's put that in for now. Whoops. Okay. Then I'm not sure. We'll wait for him to tell us. Departure. Okay, that's where you said. Cuba Center, Canada 11 Heavy. Sorry, I didn't have the box ready yet. Could you just repeat the departure and the transition, please?
Departure Mar 3, maximum transition.
Roger. Mar 3, maximum transition. Then we'll be flying en route to the flight plan, flight level 290, squawk 3477, Air Canada 11 for the readback. Okay, cool.
Canada 11, reback is correct. Question start at discretion, and current ATIS is Oscar.
Current ATIS is Oscar, roger that. I call you back for taxi, Air Canada 11 Heavy. I'm getting a call on Discord. Rip the stream. Okay, so ATC just gave us our clearance. We're gonna go over to our route. We put in our departure.
201, file discretion, descend flight level 040.
So let's open up
the
our
Venom
flight
3
plan.
arrival, and report leaving flight level 220.
So,
Discretion, descend
our route,
via the Venom 3
where's the route?
call
Okay, right here.
leaving
At Mar 3 Maxim.
201.
Looks like there's no waypoints in between, so we'll be going straight into our arrival for Florida. So let's just go back to the departure page. Arrivals, Fort Lauderdale. What did we see? BHB here, 3. We'll be expecting runway 10 left unless ATC gives us otherwise. We'll take the ILS. Okay, so let's just set that up in the box to make sure everything makes sense. Seems to be a discontinuity between Maxim. We will close the gap here. Leave this gap for the final approach fix. So that looks just fine. Our gross takeoff weight 471.3. Whoops. It's a lot of setup here to get this ready. 471.3. The reserves. Have a look at the fuel here. Reserve 6.9 tons. In case we need to fly to an alternate or to do a few go rounds. 6.9. Perfect. He told us that our cruising altitude would be flight level 290. Okay. Flight level 290, the cost index of 31. So let's get it. Thrust limit, if we go here, actually it's not there. I have the takeoff calculations on a tablet running separately from this system. So for this runway, we will use a derated takeoff to 2. Cell temperature 46. It's a temperature in the engines, basically, in an easy way to say it. Takeoff flaps for this runway is going to be a flap 5 takeoff. Center of gravity is right here on the load sheet, 29.6, rounded up to the nearest unit, 30. So before getting our speeds, we're going to put in the runway wind, which we got from the ATIS. The winds are coming from headings 30 at 09 knots. So this is going to help our plane understand and essentially let the autopilot know exactly our intentions. Outside temperature 24. There you go. So our rotate speed is 139. And now that we've inserted all the performance, we have the altitudes and speeds set up for every waypoint if we decide to fly that profile. Excellent. So I like to run the legs page there. And then we run the takeoff performance here. Do an initial climb, 250 knots. And from here, we're gonna have a look at the departure at Mar. Oops. Let's close the flight plan at Mar. So it looks like it's gonna be an LNAV departure. So no weird vectors to fly like we did last time, which means we could just basically take off heading 60 direct to Almit. So let's set our heading for that. Heading of 60, line that up with the runway. We'll trim the aircraft, take it off, climb a few hundred feet, and then we'll engage LNAV autopilot to fly this specific departure. Top of climb should be around aircraft. Our squawk code, so the number that we need to put into our transponder, given by ATC was 3. We read that back. 3477. And then squawk mode Charlie so that we can be seen on radar. Fantastic. So everything's good to go. Looks like we're going to be ready for pushback in a sec here. Let's have the purser go ahead and close the doors. Let's have all these doors closed.
I would like all doors to be closed now.
So she's going ahead, close the doors. Doors are closed. We're going to arm
I would like
those.
all doors to be closed now.
We need to arm the doors.
All doors to armed mode.
All armed and cross-checked.
Navigation source switch.
So what we're going to do is we're going to tell, basically make contact. We need to talk to ground. I think we already did it. So we're going to tell them to remove all ground equipment. Now we need to talk to ground first. Our APUs are started, so we'll get the APU power going. Because when ground disconnects the ground power, if we don't have our APUs on, then the aircraft goes dark. And you gotta start over.
This is the captain. How do you
Use
hear?
the mask over your
Good day,
mouth and
ready
nose.
over here.
Pull the strap to tighten it. And
So
pull
now
it
that we've made
normally.
contact, we can ask
Go
them to
Make
ahead
remove the
sure
and
ground
that your
equipment.
own mask
all
is on
ground
first
equipment.
before helping others.
Certainly.
In the unlikely event of an emergency
Now we're gonna ask them to go ahead and close the hatches because we are
leave your
ready to
carry-on
go.
Please
items
close all
behind.
hatches and remove all
Life vests
personnel.
are
We
located
are
below
ready
your
up here.
seats, and emergency
Pressurized,
lighting
sir.
will lead you to your closest
Perfect.
exit and
So
slide.
let's go ahead
We
and
ask
start
that you make
pressurizing the
sure that all
hydraulics.
carry-on luggage is stowed
There we
away
go.
safely during the flight.
So
While we wait for
get the
takeoff,
strobe lights on
please
because
take a
we will
moment
be
to review
starting
the
to push
safety
back
data
here.
card in the seat pocket in front of you.
Let's get the
Thanks
pushback
you,
started.
and enjoy the flight.
Okay, start pushback.
Already up here. Start pushback, please.
Please set the brakes.
Parking brake set.
Parking brake set. Cool. So we drive this with the yoke. Just gonna pull up in front of the plane. Whoops. Whoops. Okay. Get that circle right into the line. That should do.
Release the brakes, sir.
There we go. Kick the brakes.
Parking brake released.
Proceeding with the pushback.
So now I'm still driving the tug from inside the cockpit. So we're gonna, I didn't even really look which direction we should be pushing back. Let's just go this way. Actually, whoops. Let's look quick fast. Runway 06. So we're taking out this way. So we actually need to be pushing back the other way. We'll just spin the plane all the way around. Poor little tug pushing a 777 struggles. So while this tug is pushing us back, we can go ahead and get one of the engines started on the right side. When we get to around 20.0 N2, we'll add in the fuel mixture. So we got the engine on the right side coming online, ready to for fuel mixture. Enormous engines. Get the fuel pump started there. Typically you check the pushback, the direction of the runway before you push back, so you don't have to do this, but it is what it is. That's gonna have to do. Let's just straighten out the tug. And throttle down. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna pull the parking brake.
Parking brake is released.
Proceeding with the pushback.
Oh, what the heck?
Parking brake
Brake
set.
is set. So engine number 2 is started. We'll go ahead and have a shot. Start engine number 1. Let's disconnect the tug. Drive him away.
Thanks. See you at the hand signal.
Habana Center, Cubana 201, leaving Sorority gas flight level 220. Descending now.
Just clear the tug out of the
Cubana
way.
201, Habana Boy.
Let's get our fuel mixture started for engine number 1. Okay. enough with this tug thingy. Back to the cockpit. We're going to end the process for the
Much appreciated.
Hold up.
Engines are coming online. Let's bring out, whoops, my bad. Fuel pumps for engine number 1. You can hear those bad boys spooling up. Bring on the auto throttle for the controlled takeoff. End the process for this. What's this guy still standing here?
Pushback complete.
Thank you. Where is the pin?
And then you asked, this guy actually
Equipment
shows you the pin.
removed.
That's how
Pin
it
in my
is.
hand.
You can see the pin.
Thank you very much.
So the pin
Till
that he's
next time.
holding is basically to prove that he's unlocked the nose gear. So when I move the nose gear tiller, that moves left and right. So here we go, ready to push back here. Okay, we'll set takeoff trim, which is 4.25. 4.25. Alrighty then. And it was going to be a flap 5 takeoff. Let's set that right now. And here we go. We are ready to taxi out. Let's get ready to taxi. Alright, so let's bring up the taxi lights. Okay. So here we are. Don't want to put too much power. I have the map open on another tablet just to make sure we... Hold on, let's hit the brakes here while I just make sure we're going the right way. Yep, okay, so we're on Delta. We'll make this left. And then we'll turn right on Alpha. That'll be the way of the taxi. Oh shit, I forgot the call center. Oh shit, he's gonna be mad. Cuba Center, Canada 11 Heavy with you. We're on the edge of the apron, ready for taxi.
Sir, Canada 11 taxi to holding point runway 06 via Delta and Alpha.
Hold short 06 via Delta Alpha for Canada 11 Heavy. Thank you. That could have been bad. If you don't want a taxi without the clearance, you could say something. So here we are, almost on our way to Fort Lauderdale. You want to
Approaching
hit a bit of brakes there in the turn. It is a large aircraft.
Approaching.
So
two,
bring up some
4.
thrust.
Caution taxiway. Caution
Okay, that
taxiway.
voice comes on when you're a bit fast on the taxi.
Caution taxiway. Caution taxiway.
Okay, let's just hit the brakes. It's just a pinch. So taxiing our way to the hold short. Can just double check everything's good. We'll just have like a
Caution
quick checkup when we
taxiway.
get to
Caution
the edge here.
taxiway.
Yeah, over 30 knots, you get that little warning here.
Caution taxiway. Caution
Bit
taxiway.
annoying, just pump the brakes a bit.
Caution taxiway. Caution taxiway. Taxiway. Caution taxiway.
I'm going slow enough. Look at that old school Boeing 727 off to the left side, right side. Impressive. Voice server timed out for Vatsim. I'm so confused. Should be fine. Connected updated to voice server. Okay.
Approaching 6.
Okay. Cuba Center, Canada 11 Heavy holding short, runway 06. So we'll put the auto brake for
Canada 11, runway 06, clear for takeoff, wind 030 degrees, 9 knots.
Clear for takeoff, runway 06 or Canada 11 Heavy. So yeah, just make sure we got everything on, hydraulics, anti-ice. Seatbelt signs off, no smoking signs off. Get the landing lights on. The rest looks good. APU can be turned off. Pump the heat in the cabin. So aside from that, whoops, we're rolling. Let's get the takeoff ready. After takeoff, we will set up the flight directors.
Approaching 6.
Start the clock. We'll just go off a rolling
On
start
runway
here.
6.
Line up. Pump the gas. Press toga. So 100 knots. V1. And we're flying. Bring the flight directors on. And we're pulling out of Cuba here. Very good. So you don't want to pull too hard on the flight directors. Positive rate, landing gear up. Auto brakes go back to off. We're looking just right here. Gonna trim the aircraft nose down a bit, and then we can adjust the auto throttles and call ATC. Cuba Center, Canada 11 Heavy with you, 1700 on the LNAV departure. Oops. We can bring up flaps here so we don't overspeed the aircraft.
Canada 11 radar contact, climb flight level 290.
Climbing flight level 290 for Canada 11 Heavy. So let's bring up the, whoops, turn off the autopilot for a sec here. The aircraft is overspeeding a bit. There we go. Flaps are up. Autopilot off. It's a bit annoying. Okay. Let's get the autopilot back on. And we will be climbing flight level 290. Should be already changing to standard altitude. Interesting, this close. Yeah, I guess it's right on sea level. Alright, so climbing to 290. Climbing at 250, and then after 10,000 we'll be increasing the climb rate to 280 knots. So we'll be flying direct to Almit, left turn to Ebmar. It's around 8 nautical miles. We're expecting around 8,000. Good climb rate here. Auto throttle's off. I'm just gonna bring the engines up a bit here and get a bit more juice in the climb. At this point, we can go ahead and shut off those landing lights. Runway turn off lights. The rest we will leave that on. All this remains on. The view, Cuba. Next stop, Fort Lauderdale. We're 3 minutes into the flight. It's a good time to pull over the progress page, have a look at the systems. Any fuel leaks, nothing. Electrical systems. Everything seems operational. Hydraulics, fantastic. Cabin temperature, 21 degrees. Not too bad. Can turn that up just a pinch. Otherwise, everything looks good. We don't need the windshield wipers. Can maybe dim the lights just a bit here. The low night look. It's the view from behind with the runway behind. those wing lights to be on. And then if there's engine problems, the first officer will go back there and actually have a look. Bye-bye, Cuba. Hello, Fort Lauderdale. So we're well on our way. Autopilot should begin that. Oh, see, didn't make that turn, so we forgot to press LNAV. So now we press LNAV. Let's see if he's gonna make the turn. Yeah, it was just on the limit. Let's just click FMAR and we'll reshape that line. Boom. Whoops. What did I do? We're just gonna switch over to heading mode just to make that right there. Yeah. There we go. Aircraft enters 8 left bank. Cool. Alright, so we are looking good. We're in that left turn, direct FMAR. Continue that left turn. Looking good. Bring this up. Bring it out down here. Aside from that, ATC, they cleared us to our altitude. They haven't said a whole lot since then. We'll see what's next. We're 5 minutes into flight. Direct FMAR. Let's get it. And from FMAR, we'll be tracking Maxim, and then over to our destination. So from here, we click basically direct Maxim, engage that, bring our LNAV back on. Aircraft should start to bank right, fly towards Maxim. I always follow with my heading bar just to, if anything ever goes wrong, to disable the LNAV for any reason, like we just did. Just click on heading, aircraft flies in a straight line. Perfect. Whoops. EBS, not flying EBS right now. So everything looks fine and dandy.
Delta 855, Havana, are you with me?
Havana, Delta 855, level 380.
Good evening, squawk 3440.
3440.
Delta 855, radar contact, continue via flight plan.
Delta 855.
Okay. Sun sets real quick all of a sudden. Nice daytime flying today. Northeastern, like Eastern Canada. A leg from Halifax, St. John back to Halifax. And then now we're on night flight mode. Looks like there's some ATC online tonight. So just started off in Cuba. This guy might be logging off soon. And then if you get to Florida, it looks like we've got coverage pretty much all up the East Coast. Cool. So it's been a full day of flying basically. So let's have a look here. We're cleared to 29,000, climbing at 250 knots. Let's increase our speed to 280 knots. Couldn't done that a little while ago.
Sir, good evening, American 11.
And once we get to our climbing altitude, we'll start flying across the ground much faster.
American 1152, good evening, squawk 3415.
Gonna be a short flight today. But this evening,
3415, American 1152. American 1152, radar contact, line flight level 390.
the all throttles on.
390, American 1152.
Perfect.
201, descend 2,000 feet, clear
Now
for
that
the
we've
other
sped
approach
up
from
to
103.
280, should taper off the throttles just a bit.
06, 201.
just about to reach our cruising altitude. Go ahead and turn those seatbelt signs off. Smoking signs will remain on, like that temperature, it's a bit warmer. There we go. Alright. So now the engines start taping back so that they can basically contain this altitude without being full throttle. We're gonna ask the aircraft to speed up to around 227 knots, right under the speed limit. So throttle comes back, 227 knots, tracking maximum. We'll be going to Baja Lauderdale-Hollywood, and the longest leg is between Maxim and Baja, and then we're basically putting the plane down in Fort Lauderdale. It's really a short flight. If you pull up, took off, we flew this instrument departure, that left turn. We're almost done our departure here from Maxim. We'll be making that right turn. We'll hit a few waypoints along the way, and then we'll fly this arrival here. Not sure what approach that will give us in Fort Lauderdale. We'll have to see what ATC says. So we've been airborne for just about 10 minutes, so it is going quick. We climbed to our cruising altitude of 29,000 feet, speeding up the aircraft to its basically as fast as it could go without overspeeding, and then from there we'll just cruise. Top of descent. So we reach our top of descent much faster because after takeoff I opted to turn off the auto throttles, which derate the climb, and decided to just climb with maximum thrust. So we did reach our cruise altitude a bit faster there. Aside from that, everything looking good. Drink the first officer's coffee. We can hit a box section. Looking good. Views from outside.
Air Canada 11, about to leave my airspace. Service terminated. No further ADC. Monitor advisory. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much for the coverage. Advisory for Air Canada 11, 122.8. Thank you. Okay, so we're leaving his airspace. There's no more ATC in this area while we fly to Florida. Typically there could be, but they're just not online. So 122.8 is the frequency for Unicom, so all the pilots can still coordinate traffic leaving airports and conflicting altitudes to build separation. So we're about 35 minutes into the stream, 12 minutes in the air. You know, it takes about 15-20 minutes to get the aircraft configured on the ground, talk to ATC, get the clearances you need. But definitely looking alright here. I'm gonna have a look on my other app to see if there's any ATC online in Florida. Yeah, there's a tower controller in Fort Lauderdale, so unless an approach comes on, we'll be managing our descent ourselves, and then we'll get onto tower when we're about 10 miles final. Another controller might log in by the time we get there. It's Saturday night, so most likely have some controller coverage. What are those? Oh, those are boats. Our boats, yeah, 29,000 feet, it's not extremely high. So the aircraft is now in a right turn, which makes sense. We just reached maximum, we're tracking Bahia. We want to cross Bahia at 7,000. Our top of descent is coming up pretty shortly here. We're flying right now, ground speed of around 518 knots. Let me just figure out how much that is in like miles per hour. So 525 knots in miles per hour. So we're flying across the ground at 604 miles per hour, or 0.8 for the speed of sound, which is fairly quick here. We're going from Cuba to Fort Lauderdale. We've done the engines on the climb. We're only 14 minutes into the flight. It goes much faster once we start our cruise. It's looking like we overshot maximum. What the heck is going on? For some reason the computer programmed this like weird loop, but it doesn't appear to exist on the map. Not sure why it's doing that. We'll be back on track shortly. Oops, sorry for that. So everything's looking just fine. It's about time for another systems check. Fuel leak, negative. Hydraulics, looking good. Electronics, all green. Comfort level of the passengers, super comfy. Comfort level maximum. Doors closed and armed. Cool, no catastrophic decompressions despite this being a Boeing. Boeing's been in the news quite a bit recently. The doors are working fine on this particular aircraft. So let's bring back the engine page, or like just make sure our APU is still off. Cool, when we descend we'll start bringing it back on so we can have power on the ground. So we'll be reaching our destination faster than we expect. Top of the descent is coming up soon. I'm gonna have a quick look at the weather in Fort Lauderdale with this app that I have. Okay. So Fort Lauderdale, the ATIS is actually Charlie right now. And what Charlie means, it's a code letter for the weather at a specific time. So right now weather is, wind is coming from heading at 350 at 7 knots. Outside temperature 22. Altimeter setting 3005. So let's set, we're still on standard baro because we're over the ocean. But when we get to Fort Lauderdale, the local altimeter setting will be 3005. That looks fine. All this looks good. From the wing inside peasant class. Very cool. Wide body aircraft. And this is the view from business class. Why can't I get over this? This looks pretty phenomenal. Alright, back to flying the plane because that's what we do. We're approaching the top of descent. Engines are looking good. Bahia, Ajuzi, Holland. I like to leave this open in case we get further instructions. Then we'll be descending into our final fix for an approach on runway 10 left, unless the controllers decide to give us another runway. Fantastic. to get ready for top of descent. Nothing really crazy happening right now. We got good speed, not too high up for this short flight. Spin back where we are. Our expected fuel, our expected ETA, always in Zulu time, which is basically the standard time for world of aviation, which is basically British time. Look at that. What airport is that? Where are we? Oh, a little Key West strip. Nice. So, oops, looks like we are flying through some of the keys here. Wow, I never realized how far offshore the keys actually are. We're basically in the middle of the ocean. Key West International. Key West International just off to our right side here. Amazing. So we're 20 minutes into flight here. Exactly, pretty much, it's a bit more than halfway, I guess. One sec. Everything's looking not too bad. I hope the stream is looking good. It's a starry night here. I don't know how much of this actually pick up on the stream. I can see quite a bit of it. So we should probably start our descent. 72 nautical miles. They want 7,000 at Bahia. Does that even make sense? How close is that to the airport? Okay, I guess pretty close. So there's no controller online to bring us in. We're already coming in pretty fast. So the first thing I would do is probably reduce speed just very slightly. And then let's just come down in steps. So let's reduce our altitude to around 25,000 feet. Flight level change. Aircraft will do its thing first. It pulls the throttles back with the auto throttle. I have that set. So when I put in 320, all the throttles pull back. What it does is it bleeds off the speed. Once it reaches 320, which it just has, nose will begin to pitch down. Oh, it has detected. Oh, we're under 320. Nose pitches down. We come out of our climbing, of our cruising altitude. And then now the aircraft is going to pitch down accordingly to speed back up to 320 and also maintain that speed. So passenger seatbelt signs do need to come back on. For now, that's all we really need to touch up here. We could brief our approach quickly if we want. Let's assume ATC gives us RNAV Zulu or ILS runway 10. So looking at the approach here, let's open up the chart. Overlay the sectional. So this is an instrument approach. So what this means is that it starts at Hollywood. We're going to be catching the localizer and taking this all the way down to the runway along with the glide slope. Glide slope starts at Novae. They want 1800 at Novae, and then after that the radio frequency should bring us down to the ground, which is a precision approach, which is basically cleared to fly without the weather. This ILS actually clears you to fly in without any sight on the runway up until 200 feet. At 207 feet, if you still don't have sight on the runway, then you need to fly go around because the instrument will take you down to this level. So 207 are our minimums. Right now we're set to 200, so that's good. It's just set there. That's the voice that comes on. It says minimums, so you know either you have the runway in sight or you don't. That's when you have like low clouds, bad weather, etc. Depending on the ILS, an aircraft like this is equipped to auto land if the category of the ILS is good enough. If the weather is good and everything looks good, I just deactivate the autopilot and the auto throttle and land it by hand, which is what most pilots actually do. but there's no wrong in having the instrument approach at least programmed, and you get like some guidance here on the displays. So 25,000, we should be continuing our descent. So let's just step this down to 20 for now and have a look at our profile on the computer, see how far off we are. We're still very fast, so we need to consider time it takes to slow down the aircraft. So we have 44 nautical miles to cross Bahia at 7,000. I think it's quite possible, to be honest. So let's just bring the number down to 10K right now. Just keep at the same time. Fantastic. So we have 10,000 set up. Good speed on the descent. You want to still fly the aircraft as fast as you possibly can to the destination without overspeeding. You know, you look at the wind. The wind's coming from like the tail, from like a west, southwest. So because of the tailwind, you could be getting more speed than you see here. The indicated airspeed is basically the air flowing through the engines, versus true airspeed, which is us moving through the air, versus ground speed, which is always a bit higher, is how fast you're moving across the ground. The reason why they measure air traffic control everything with indicated airspeed is because that fluctuates on an altitude basis depending on how much air. The higher you go, the thinner air is, less air passing through the engines, so you'll see a lower reading here. So to control aircraft, it's easier to standardize it to indicated airspeed since they have aircraft, I guess, flying in like different pockets of altitude. I think that's what I heard on one of these aviation channels that I follow. So, am I paying attention? 31 nautical miles for 7K. It's not looking that terrible. Could accelerate a bit. If I add a bit of speed here, we're still going to descend on idle thrust, but the aircraft will pitch their nose down, essentially dropping us out of the sky a bit faster. So we've briefed the approach. Sorry, I just want to go back here for the minimums for the ILS. If you don't have the glide slope, just the localizer, your minimums go up, so 420. Hauled is the transition. We didn't program the transition. We're gonna grab the ILS straight from, oh no, we did. Yeah, Hauled, Gambi. So when you arrive in Florida, usually you're gonna fly this like holding pattern because it's a really busy airport, and then eventually they just clear aircraft one by one into the approach. But if it's not that busy, we don't need to fly this holding pattern, and he's just gonna clear us in. So there you go. ATC is calling us right now. Call me on 124.85. Let's see what he says. Fort Lauderdale approach, Air Canada 11 Heavy with you, descending through 18,000. We're 20 miles off Bahia.
Air Canada 11 Heavy, Miami approach, radar contact, Fort Lauderdale altimeter 3006. Descend via the Bahama tree arrival, expect the ILS runway 10 left approach.
Roger that for the local altimeter 3006. Bahia 3 arrival, we will be expecting the ILS on runway 10 left. Perfect, so he basically cleared us for what we just briefed. Perfect, standard barometer back. The local altimeter was 306.
You keep breaking up with the transitions.
Roger, thanks for letting me know. I'll try to troubleshoot that. Okay, breaking up with the transitions.
We're 206 Super, squawk 7435.
So Bahia 7,000.
November 650 Bravo Alpha, Miami Center offline, radar service terminated, change your advisor, good night.
Sierra Bravo Alpha will be out there.
Miami Archer, Delta 1215, 3,204, 4,000.
I'm a bit curious for the hold. I should probably ask him if he wants me to fly that or not.
Contact, climb and maintain 13,000. Maintain 13,000, Delta 1215.
Bring this down to 7K.
Miami, Amerijet 850, we're Cargo City, you're ready to push on a Romeo.
Just pull up the landing calculations there that I did on a different tablet. Miami approach, Air Canada 11 Heavy. I just want to know, should I plan for the descent while skipping the hold, or do I fly the hold?
Give me 1 second. I'm just coordinating with tower here for Lauderdale. 1 second, guys.
Okay. He's coordinating, so we're going to do that. Oh shoot, I'm unable to see the information about the runway. So I'm not sure how short the runway is, so we'll just play it safe with like auto brakes for... I mean, we landed in tiny airport in St. John's with a 777 with like brakes 4, should be okay. We'll bring on the lights when we're closer to the approach. Seatbelt lights already on. We'll refire
Skipper
our gears.
206 Super, runway 8 right, taxi via Victor, Quebec.
Taxi via Victor, Quebec, 28 right, 26 Super.
So we need to start
Canada 11 Heavy, I'm going to clear you straight in via Holland, so you don't need to do the procedure turn or hold anything there.
Roger that, direct into Holland for Canada 11 Heavy.
Negative, so I'm just letting you know you don't need to do the hold at Holland. I'm just going to clear you straight in from Holland for the approach.
Roger. Yeah, I'll skip the hold, thank you. So that means we don't need to fly. If it's really busy, you fly like this loop and they can keep you there like I just explained. In this case, we're going to skip the loop and we're going to just fly in from Holland the first time. So you just... Okay, you see prop hold, yeah, I should grab this,
Miami American
delete that.
852, we're Cargo City, ready to push on Romeo.
American 852, Miami departure, push on to Romeo face west.
Romeo facing west, American 852.
What I'll do is when I get the Holland, we'll just go straight to Gambie, we'll fly on heading mode. So the heading there is going to be, we'll be tracking heading 84 by the time we get there.
Friday, your discussion, call for taxi, expect runway 8 right.
Says you on 5 feet to push big non-section, expect runway 8 right.
November 23, Mike Zulu landing will be at your own risk, use caution.
We're a bit high.
I am at risk, 3 miles risk.
Let's pull out our speed brakes here just to fall out of the sky slightly a little bit faster here. I haven't been using my speed brakes, so I just pulled this.
Okay, Canada 11 Heavy, cross Holland at 5,000, clear for the straight in ILS runway 10 left approach.
Cross Holland at 5,000, cleared for the straight in ILS approach runway 10, thank you. Perfect, so we'll go in and do that. We're trying to slow down the aircraft to 5,000 and then we can slow down from like over 300 knots, right? Barometer set to screen. Oh, okay. Whoops. So that set there. There we go. So this is happening fairly quickly now. So we'll just fly straight to heading. No, straight to Holland, then we'll go to Gambie. I'm gonna let it sit at 5,000, and I kept the speed brake up for that long because I wanted to get down to 5,000, like kind of like way before Holland, 10 nautical miles. That's good because we need to really slow the aircraft down. We're still at like 330 knots. I'm a bit surprised ATC hasn't said anything, but now that we've maintained 5,000, the thrust comes back to maintain the altitude. But now is the perfect time. We're just cruising 5,000. The box wants us 240. Let's go up to like 250.
Miles southwest of the Miami airport. Miami altimeter 3007, descend by the Sandbar 3, arrival expect the ILS runway 9er.
Let's run in with Sandbar 3 arrival for Cayman 122, altimeter 3007.
Looking good. Just about to hit Holland here. There, we have the airport in sight. So Holland's the beginning of the instrument approach. The glide slope can be captured at no bay, and if we have everything in sight, we fly it manually. Get my feet on the rudder pedals. So, I said call it at 5,000. We'll get ready to get our altitude down to 4,000 or above at Gambi. Remember, we're on heading mode right now because he told us not to fly this procedural loop. So then when we get the haulage,
Pressure Macon 1614 is ready, right?
Gambi,
Macon 1614, RNAV Jamba, runway 8 right, clear for takeoff.
17 miles.
Not the Jamba, cliff takeoff, right, Macon 1614.
Perfect. So we'll
Cayman
execute that.
122, I'd like you clear for the
Now
ILS
back
runway
to the
9.
LNAV, and then we fly to Gambi.
49er for Cayman
You
122.
see we have the ILS basically ready to capture. We'll click approach mode. And then we'll get ready. You see it says approach here, localizer.
Canada
We're just on
11 Heavy
localizer.
at Warrior, contact Fort Lauderdale Tower on 119.3, good night.
Once we at Warrior, we'll contact tower 119.3 or Canada 11 Heavy. So when we get here, we'll contact tower. Let me cue that up in the radios. 119.3.
Spirit 206 Super, runway 8 right, line up away.
Just coming out of the clouds here. We're gonna initiate a descent to 4,000. We're at 250 knots, so that's pretty good. We're probably gonna want to just arm the speed brakes. We're gonna want to descend the aircraft, slow it down at the same time. We're around 170 knots. The approach. It's a bit dark and there's some low clouds, so we don't see the runway, but we're gonna get there. We'll see it fast approaching. So now that we hit 4,000, the aircraft should descend on its own, and the glide path is getting captured. Warrior 3,000 or above. So let's bring that down to 3,000. Reduce speed to like 160 knots if we can.
Spirit 206 Super, RNAV Jamba, runway 8 right, clear for takeoff.
RNAV Jamba, clear for takeoff, right?
So we're at 10-mile final, so let's contact tower now. Fort Lauderdale Tower, Canada 11 Heavy with you on short final. Let's see what tower says.
Air
Breaking out of
Canada
the soup.
11, Fort Lauderdale Tower. Wind 350 at 9. Runway 10 left, clear to land.
Runway 10 left, clear to land for Canada 11 Heavy. Cool, so we have the runway in sight. For some reason, if you can see, we're just like a bit off on the localizer to the right side. Let's see if the aircraft decides to correct that on its own. We can drop the landing gear at this point. Why is the aircraft going so fast? Slow down, miss it. Okay, so we're finally slowing down the aircraft. I'm gonna pull out speed brakes just to slow it down faster. Not sure why it's going so slow. We're gonna start pulling out flaps. And we'll start flying the rest of this approach by hand momentarily. So let's take the coming in a bit hot.
Terrain. Caution, terrain.
Bring the auto throttles off. Autopilot off. And let's fly the plane ourselves. We have everything out. We keep the throttles at idle right now because we're trying to bleed off some speed. Let's just line up with the runway here. And let's slow. Bit to the left.
And Tower Echo Charlie 406 Heavy, hold short
We're
runway.
gonna bring out the rest of the flaps here.
Left.
Echo Charlie
down the aircraft.
406 Heavy, hold short.
Bring out some
Traffic
thrust here.
on a short final for 10 left.
Let off the speed that we needed, so now I'm bringing in thrust, about 40% thrust here. We're just showing left of the runway, so I'm going to make a maneuver to line up, pull back on the throttles. With the runway in sight. A bit of rudder. We're looking good, guys. Let's see how this goes.
300. Approaching minimums.
Approaching minimums. We have the runway in sight.
Sync
Tell
rate.
the first officer that we're
Sync
going to
rate.
continue.
Sync rate.
Just fly
Sync
over the
rate.
threshold, pull the
Sync
throttles back. Give a bit of rudder.
30. 20. 10.
Whoops. That was a bit bumpy. Full right letter deflection. That was a bit bumpy.
Runway 10.
We landed it.
Left.
Echo
Also
Charlie
forgot the lights. That was a bit
406
ridiculous.
heavy.
We're alive. We're
Caution
alive.
wing turbulence. Runway 10 left,
Pull
line
off
up and
on
wait.
this.
Line up, wait, 10 left, Echo Charlie 406.
Air Canada 11 heavy, welcome to Fort Lauderdale, safe parking.
No preference for the gate.
Okay, Air Canada 11 heavy. Taxi to the ramp via Tango 4. Straight ahead on Tango 4.
Straight ahead, Tango 4 to the ramp. Thank you very much, Air Canada 11. So we're just gonna go Tango 4 to the gate. Okay, let's bring up the flaps back. Retract the speed brakes. Wasn't the best landing, but it wasn't, I think we're still alive though. These gates look like they're for tiny aircraft.
Echo Charlie 406 heavy. Wind 350 at 9. RNAV elbow. Runway 10 left,
Sounds
clear for
like a
takeoff.
heavy gate.
RNAV elbow, 10 left, clear for takeoff.
Maybe, I
Echo
think at
Charlie
Fort
406
Lauderdale they
heavy.
don't really even have like extremely large gates. So let's just take this one on the corner. It'll be easy to push back. And just slide this in. Everything looks good. Aircraft's in one piece. Go ahead and set the parking brake. I'm gonna reset the trim here. Alright, so flight director's off. You can call up the
Echo
purser.
Charlie 406 heavy. Contact departure 124.85. Have a good flight.
Seatbelt signs
Departure
off.
124.85 for Echo Charlie
APUs, make
406
sure the
heavy. Thank
APU's
you very
on.
much.
It is. Now we can power off our engines without the aircraft going dark. And ask the purser to unload
We
the
are ready for the
passengers.
passengers to disembark.
Disembarking now.
Alright, and making contact with ground. Fuel pumps off. Hydraulics off.
Good day. How do you hear?
Rest is
Ground
on.
is ready.
These lights off. Electric on, APU stays on. Window heat can come off. The rest can stay on the air while a new flight is being configured. So warm start. So that's done. Ground service, have them connect
Ground,
some things.
we need some equipment connected.
Which one?
Water,
Left ground power.
live.
Roger that.
Loader, luggage, fuel trucks, more loaders. Have them open up those cargo doors.
Please open the hatch.
Most assuredly.
And there we go. There we go. Short flight, Cuba to Fort Lauderdale, complete. Thanks everyone, whoever Had a look. We'll be back probably for another leg.